While I was doing the dishes, my husband John blurted that out unexpectedly. But why? I was taken aback by the suddenness. You see, I'm about to come into $3 million. That's a hell of a lot of money, right? But it's mine, and I don't intend to share it with you. What does that have to do with a divorce? The truth is, I stayed with you for the money, Emily. Your salary isn't much, but it's better than nothing. So I reluctantly carried on with our married life. But once I get those $3 million, I won't need you anymore. I want to live a relaxed life alone, so please let's part ways. Fine. If you have that much money, you can sell the house. It will cover the mortgage too. John was a bit surprised that I agreed without any resistance. This would mean goodbye to my tiresome life up to now. I slammed some papers onto the table in the living room. My name is Emily. I love children and work as a preschool teacher. I met John, who was 2 years older than me, through a friend's introduction. And we've been married for almost 8 years now. We bought a house thinking about having children, looking forward to happy days ahead. That's what I thought during our newlywed days. But soon after we got married, John's attitude completely changed. He became more and more obsessed with money. Before we got married, he would tell me my job was a wonderful job. But then he started saying, Emily, all you have to do is play with kids. I'm working my ass off here. You've got a good gig. I bet they call people like you a freeloader. Those words soon became his catchphrase. Being a daycare teacher is tough too. Each child has a different personality, and above all, we are entrusted with their lives. There's no such thing as an easy job. But he didn't listen and ignored my complaints. I was so frustrated and upset. The reason we don't have children, even though we've been married for 8 years, is also due to this. He would say, if you have time to make babies, you should work more. Don't tell me you're planning to quit your job using a baby as an excuse. We have a mortgage and taxes to pay, you know. What are you thinking? Don't ever talk about having kids again. I was yelled at and couldn't say anything back. Sure, John is older and has a career, so his income is higher than mine, but the gap isn't that big. It's only a difference of a few $1,000s, and yet he acts high and mighty every time. I take pride in my job and feel fulfilled every day, so being looked down upon for such unreasonable reasons was humiliating. John's words pierced my heart, and I would often cry quietly by myself. Lately, John has been saying he wants to be alone more often. In reality, I could live by myself, but I've been sticking with you out of necessity. Don't forget that. Why does he always look down on me? Perhaps it has to do with John's increased overtime at work. It's because you're not working hard enough that I have to work overtime to make ends meet. How about being a little grateful? I was often blamed like this, but even though he's working overtime, it doesn't seem like his salary is increasing. I can tell because I carefully check our finances, but the salary doesn't really change much, does it? Even though you talk big, maybe that ticked him off because John got angrier than I've ever seen him before. Who do you think is making this lifestyle possible? If I wanted to, I could dump you easily. Be prepared. He said something that sounded almost like a threat. He wasn't like this before we got married. Since that incident, our conversations as a couple have steadily decreased. Then one day, something happened that pushed me further into despair. When we visited John's parents during Thanksgiving, his mother served tea and said, "You two have been married for 8 years now, right? Emily, you used to say you wanted a child soon. Considering your age, have you decided on how many children you want?" I thought this was the perfect time to discuss the issue, so I was about to open my mouth. But then, Mom, We're not having kids. Emily and I talked it over and decided. Oh, is that so? Yeah, she said she absolutely hates the idea of taking care of kids, whether it's at work or home. What? Wait a minute. What are you saying? Mom, can you not bring it up so much? It's stressful for Emily, too. No, that's not what Well, if that's what you two have decided, it's okay to just be the two of you. It's certainly hard work. With that, my mother-in-law left the room, and I was left unable to discuss anything. On the car ride home, I asked, why would you tell such a lie? I love children and want them, but you keep saying you don't want them yet. The fact that we can't afford to have a child because you don't work full-time is true. Only start talking when you start earning as much as me. I thought preschool teachers earn more. What a disappointment. I don't like the way you're saying that. From the beginning, I never liked children, and I never planned on having them. Children are just a financial burden. I'd rather spend that money on myself. While I was shocked, John just laughed. You should never mix personal matters with work. I knew that, of course, but I couldn't help but dwell on this issue. Children are sensitive to these things. A girl named Amy from the class I'm in charge of approached me. Miss Emily, what's wrong? You seem less cheerful today. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to worry you. I'm fine, I said, patting her head. Amy wasn't the type to stand out, but she was very mature and kind for her age. She must be receiving a good upbringing. You're not fine. You're usually much more cheerful. I don't want to see Miss Emily like this, she said sadly. I felt terrible for causing such a young child concern. Maybe my daddy can help with Miss Emily's problem. He's a superhero and helps lots of people. He's picking me up tomorrow, so I'll tell him. Amy's mother usually picked her up, but she said her father was coming to the preschool tomorrow because her mother was busy. I told her I was fine, but Amy insisted on introducing me. I hadn't really spoken to Amy's father since I met him at the school entrance ceremony, so I was a bit nervous. The next day, as Amy said, her father came to pick her up. Thank you for looking after Amy. I'm her father. I've heard a lot about you from my daughter. I really appreciate that she seems to be having a good time. Oh, not at all. We're the ones who should be thanking you. Amy is a very kind girl. I got the impression that he was a very polite person, but I didn't really feel like sharing my personal affairs, especially because they were quite embarrassing and not something that could be easily spoken about. I can tell that Miss Emily is worried about something, so I want you to talk to my dad. Thank you, Amy. I really appreciate your concern, but I understand how you feel. It can be difficult to confide in someone, even if they're a close acquaintance. However, my daughter is really worried about you. If there's anything going on, please let me help. Surprised, I received a business card from Amy's father and saw his title. Looking back, I think that was the moment my fate changed. That was when I decided to take revenge on John. While I was preparing for that moment, John suddenly approached me. Hey, how about we get a divorce? It was after a long time that John came home early, and we had dinner together. My hands, which were washing dishes, stopped. Perhaps he thought I was bewildered by the suddenness. John grinned unpleasantly. You might not like it, but my feelings won't change. May I ask why? A huge sum of money is coming in. Do you want to know how much? $3 million. $3 million. John's mouth did not stop, even though I hadn't asked anything. I've been with you because I wanted money. Compared to me, it was just a drop in the bucket, but better than nothing, right? But now I have $3 million, so I don't need you anymore. So let's split up quickly. You've probably had enough